yesterday from Toledo, and I had three big, presentations to make. One school, about close to 600 people. I was picked up on Wednesday. I was speaking Thursday about 12:30 and to a big school. And then in the evening, I was speaking to the community, another few hundred people. And on Friday, I was speaking to a great big church, about 700 people. And I'm so tired. But this was arranged already quite a while ago. And I said, I will come no matter how tired I am. I am really honored to be here with you today. Thank you so much. Today we have my name is Paula Marks Bolton. Today we have Temple Colony. Anybody? Thank you very much for coming here. Your rabbi once was my rabbi at Temple Bethel. That was, your senior rabbi. Thank you. And we have a public tour from everywhere. I want to thank all the docents, John White, Sidney Glenn, Dee Florence, Jim Bark, and Michael Dixon. What went through today with you, ladies and gentlemen, they are wonderful, wonderful docents, and we as survivors just love them because they became like our own family. As survivors, as you know, they are passing away. It's the last chapter. A few years from now, there will be no survivor left. I have been speaking, ladies and gentlemen, for the past 27 years. I used to speak 3 times a week. Now I speak only twice a week, which is really a lot for me right now. I had a knee replacement a year ago, and it's very hard to do it, but there are only a handful of people who can speak about this. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you, the people who just came in, for coming here today. You shall never forget what you will learn today. My name is Paula Marks Bolton. I was born in Poland many years ago. As I always say, I came from a loving family just like all of you, but not for long after the Nazis invaded Poland. What I have been teaching for the past 27 years is love and understanding for all people. It should never make any difference what nationality, what religion, or what color skin a person is. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all connected. We must reach out to one another. We must respect and love each other. And together we will make a better world. Might not happen tomorrow, but it will happen for your lifetimes. It will. You can see already the change in the attitude towards other people, how people care about one another. And this is my promise to the 6 million who have perished during the Nazi regime. The 6 million Jewish people, mothers, fathers, and children, were taken off from the face of the earth just because we were Jews. As I said, I came from a loving family, just like all of you. I had parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts and cousins and friends. I was 13 years old when the Nazis invaded Poland. 2 of my brothers were married. My oldest brother, ladies and gentlemen, had two small children, a little boy 5.5, a little girl 2.5, but not for long. My second brother, who was shortly married before the war started, when he saw the decrees what the Nazi regime is giving out to the Jewish people, he lived in a distant city, not far actually from us. He managed to run away to Russia. His wife did not want to go. She said, "You go. If it's going to be okay, I will follow you later." Unfortunately, she never made it. She perished in the Holocaust with the 6 million others. I will tell you to the end of my story how I met my only brother who survived from my whole family, where I met him and through whom. In the meantime, the Nazi regime is giving out orders to the Jewish people to wear a yellow star of our chest to be identified as we were Jews. Young and old had to wear the Star of David on our chest. Imagine, I always say, if we would not wear the Star of David, how could they possibly tell who was Jewish, who was not? Certainly Jewish people look the same as everyone else. Unfortunately, I must tell you, we did have a lot of collaborators. But in the same breath, I'm saying collaborators, I want you all to be proud of what I will just say next. We had a lot of outstanding Christian people all over Europe. Not enough, but they were. And I will tell you to the end of my story what they have done to help us. In the meantime, 6 young boys, 15, 16 years old, defied the orders. They didn't want to put on the Star of David. They were rounded up by the Gestapo and their collaborators. They were beaten into a big square where the gallows were ready for them. They uprooted all the Jewish people from our town, mothers, fathers, and children. We were beaten to march faster and faster into the square. What we have witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, was the most horrifying sight. 6 human beings, 15, 16 years old, with ropes around their necks on gallows. The cries of the people is unbearable. The prayers to God is unbearable. They are announcing and beating the people, if you don't obey orders, this is what's going to happen to you. Elder people tried to collect money. They took off their watches, their wedding bands. They thought they would be able to bribe the Nazis from hanging those poor boys. But ladies and gentlemen, they couldn't. They took all the loot collected and hung him in front of our eyes. Need I to tell you what went on there? The prayers to God, the cries of the people, but nobody cares. They are announcing again and beating us all over our bodies. You may go back to your homes, but not for long. If you don't obey orders, this is what's going to happen to you. The first ones from my immediate family who were taken out was my oldest and my youngest brother. My youngest brother, ladies and gentlemen, was only 2.5 years older than I was. I always say he was one of the best students in school. He had so much hope what he was going to become. had he lived a normal life. I was very close with all three of my brothers, but we were so close in age. We went to the same school. He was always drilling me to make sure I knew my lesson. When the teacher calls me to the blackboard, as I know what I'm talking about, I was doing okay, but not as good as my brother. They were pulling people away by the hundreds every day. They attacked the Jewish homes. The first ones, as I said, was to be taken away was my oldest and my youngest brother. My oldest brother's name was Moshe. My second brother's name, who ran away to Russia, was Shmerek. And my youngest brother's name was Shimek. Shimek and Moshe were on those open, filthy trucks being beaten to settle in. Hundreds of young men and boys were taken away, never to be seen again. Where are you taking them? There were no answers. Their families, mothers and fathers and children running after those trucks as they were pulling away. I was behind the truck where my brothers were. As they were pulling away, I called their names. I didn't see Moshe. He was punched down with the other people. But Shimek got up as high as he could and waved to me. You know, in 27 years, I speak here 3 times, twice a week. I wave like he did. In every presentation, how can I forget? I see every image, every word I say, I live it. You cannot imagine how hard it is for a survivor to speak about this. We have only a handful of people who can. And why I can speak about this, I really don't know. But from the letters, from the beautiful letters you, the students, the teachers, moms and dads, what you are writing to me, you say, Paula, God gave you this gift to teach us. Never stop. I really gave a promise to the 6 million. This I will do something. I didn't know then what I was going to do. But I was led into this 27 years ago. And I promise I will never give up. Because actually, you probably know, this Governor Snyder last year, he wrote it into law. It is a law to learn about the Holocaust. Every student must learn about the Holocaust and genocide. It was written into law. But ladies and gentlemen, the years are yet to come, the worst years of our lives, for no other reason than we were Jews. I remember every word I tell you. They took them away, but they never came back. When I come to the point when I say they didn't come back, I still get a skip in my heart. They didn't come back. But when they came for us, I was with my parents. We hear the shouts and screams, alle Juden raus, all Jews out. We had to get out from our homes with just the clothes on our backs. We could take nothing with us. When we came down on the street, there were so many people waiting already for us. Among those people were a lot of religious Jews with beards and black garb and black hats. And as I always say, this is a kind, learned, gentle people. They always make sure the sick, the disabled, the old are being taken care of. Burials are being taken care of in the right way. And I always say, perhaps in this beautiful country of ours, the United States of America, perhaps you have such neighbors, so you know already what kind of people they are. If you are in trouble, you walk up to a person like this, they will do everything they can to help you. They will never ask you, are you Jewish or not? It doesn't matter. They'll do whatever they can. This was almost taken off from the face of the earth. Thank God some of us survived. We can teach you so this will never happen again. Again, I will repeat, no matter what nationality, no matter what religion, no matter what color of skin a person is, we are all connected. We are all brothers and sisters. As we are marching, they are pulling the beards from these poor men's chins. They are cutting them with scissors and knives. The cries of the people is unbearable. I must tell you, there were people looking on, but nobody said anything, and that's what I'm talking about. Wherever you see injustice, you must help the ones who cannot help themselves. They marched us into a big school. Actually, it was the school where I attended, and all my brothers did. They pushed us and filled the capacity to each classroom, but there were no benches or chairs or lights. Everything was taken out. Mothers, fathers, and children huddling on the floor next to one another. Children crying their heart out. They were so afraid. Mothers shushing them to be quiet. Fathers praying to God to help us. A little while into this commotion, somebody opens the door. A man in a Gestapo uniform. My mother, like she would see an angel. She runs over to him and she begs him, she calls his name. His name was Hans. Hans, please take out my little girl. I'm 13 years old. There were a lot of 13-year-olds and younger and older in that room. He was actually mad at her. And he told her in a stern voice, he answered to her, I don't know you, and slammed the door in her face. But ladies and gentlemen, the man in the Gestapo uniform was no other but a neighbor of ours. They were good neighbors. They were kind, wonderful people, and so were we. I went with his children to school. We did our homework together, just like you do with your friends. What happened to my neighbor? I started to cry and beg both of my parents not to make any scenes. I don't want to be taken out. I say to the younger groups, can you imagine yourselves to be torn away from your loving parents at such a tender age? What are we going to do without them? But it was not to be. A little while into this commotion again, it was completely dark. It was completely dark in the room. No lights anywhere. Somebody opens the door again, and from all these people, ladies and gentlemen, reaches for my arm and pulled me out and literally threw me across the hall into another classroom with screaming, crying children without their parents. We were orphans already. We never saw our parents again. But in all the years I have been speaking, I have been thinking, who took me out? Why was I so special? I was not special. There were other kids my age. Who saved my life? I cannot help but think of my neighbor. It is a possibility. When he slammed the door in my mother's face, he must have had a complete change of heart. And he probably thought to himself, I know the Reichmanns, my maiden name was Reichmann. I know Paula. Paula's always in my house, my kids are in theirs. They are good people, maybe I should do something. You see, he had the power of helping. He had the power of doing something good. Also, I did not see who took me out, who saved my life. In all 27 years I have been speaking, I give the benefit of the doubt to my neighbor. It is a possibility. I hope it was him. As I said, we were orphans already. We never saw our parents again. At 4 o'clock in the morning, they took all the children out from that school and marched us into a ghetto. Ghettos, ladies and gentlemen, were horrifying places for the Jewish people under the Nazi regime. They uprooted us from our homes. We could take nothing with us. They stuck us in the slumless areas where we had to share little rooms with so many others. We had to work on forced labor in different capacities. There was no money, just a little ration they gave us, a meager little ration. I'll tell you later what we got in the ration. Poland had a lot of ghettos. The biggest ghetto in Poland, ladies and gentlemen, was Warsaw. I am sure a lot of you know already about the Warsaw uprising. If you don't, look it up in the libraries and see what happened in the Warsaw uprising. Unspeakable. The second biggest ghetto in Poland was Lodz. I was born 24 kilometers away from Lodz in Ozorkov. They uprooted all the people now from that ghetto and stuck us in an open, filthy truck. Every day, hundreds of people were transported into the Lodz ghetto. I say always I was lucky. Indeed, I'm lucky to still be alive. I was lucky because when I arrived in the filthy open trucks, the people who lived there in that ghetto had to wait at the filthy station and take in more people to their little rooms where they shared with so many others. I was taken into a kind young couple before the war. The husband was a principal in Lodz. His wife was a school teacher. The wife had a sister, her name was Ruta. I always tell the Ruta story. In 27 years, I can't forget that story. What happened to me, what happened to our lives. Ruta became the sister I never had. I had 3 brothers. Ruta was a few years older than I, and she became the sister, as I said, I never had. She was the kindest person, beautiful inside and out. Her sister always reminded her, when they come for us, if they are not around, to tell them that I am family. They were all like family to me, but collectively, we were all in very big trouble. We shared a little room with so many others. Some of the people, I don't even remember their faces. They came, they left, they never came back. We received a ration once a week, which consisted of meager staple foods, no fruits, no vegetables. Most people ate up the ration in 1 or 2 days. But what are we going to do for the rest of the week? We were starving. We were scavenging for peels from potatoes and grounds from coffee. If we could find it, we chopped it up and we fried it on a frying pan, and we called them potato pancakes. They did not taste like potato pancakes, but it was something to put in our stomach. This went on from week to week for years. So many people died of starvation and diseases in the ghettos before they were sent away to a camp. There was no win, ladies and gentlemen, if you were Jewish under the Nazi regime, or your grandmother or grandfather or great-great-great-grandfather or great-great-grandmother. If you had only a drop of Jewish blood, you had no right to live. And I always say, how could a literate people, actually the German people, were a literate people, especially at that time, how could they have hardened their heart and soul towards one of the oldest people in the world? I still have a problem with it, but this is what happened. But I also must assure you, what I'm telling you, it's just a little bit off the top. If I would tell you the whole story, what I went through as a child, I would probably never leave this room. Ladies and gentlemen, we had to work on forced labor in different capacities. I worked in a straw factory. I worked in a plastic factory where we made raincoats for the Nazis. In the straw factory, we were braiding. So we were standing like in barn-like, and we were braiding straw. When the braids were huge, we had to twirl around them into barrels. And they told us those barrels are going to shield the soldiers, the Nazis on the front. We had to do it, otherwise they would kill us. I worked in a shoe factory. They rotated us every few months to different facilities, but they would not tell us why. We just had to do it. When I was 14 and a half years old, I was walking around with a cane from malnutrition. There was nobody to help me, but Ruta was always there and her family. When they came for us, I was indeed with Ruta. We hear the shouts and screams again to get out. At this point, some people grabbed little belongings, but I must tell you, I had nothing on me except a tiny little picture of my mother. You see, if you remember when I told you when they came for us when I was with my parents, we could take nothing with us, but by sheer chance, my mother happened to have had a little picture of herself in her pocket. Frankly, I will tell you, I never saw it before. So when your parents do something or write to somebody, be sure the younger groups, you know where and to whom. You never know when you might need it. That was the only thing she had. As we were being beaten to march faster and faster, evidently she knew we are going to be divided. She stuck this little picture of herself in my pocket, something to remember her by. How did I remember my mother? Every night in the lodge ghetto, I had it in front of my eyes and cried my heart out. What I would have given then to see her face again, but I never did. That was the only thing what I had. They are marching us now to the cattle cars. Did everybody see the cattle cars? You know, every time I come in, I come from this side. Sometimes I try not to look at it, but how can you avoid this? This cattle car was sent to us by the German government about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And it will be sitting here forever for people like you to see what happened. If you possibly can, put your head in, close your eyes, and think of this, of my presentation. What would you have done? You cannot imagine what went on in each compartment. They are beating men, women, and children into those compartments and shouting and screaming, "Settle in!" I'm sorry, I know it's a hard story. I know. Settle in. How can we settle in? We are on top of each other, ladies and gentlemen. They are beating us, one on top of each other. For hours and hours, they are still standing. There is no bread, no water, no toilet, a bucket somewhere in the corner. When they finally thought we settled in, they padlocked those doors. Yes, they padlocked those doors. When they started to move, we were riding and stopping for hours and hours, for days and nights, but they never opened up those doors. Human cargo. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a sheer miracle if anybody survived those rides. They finally stopped for good and opened up the doors and announced we arrived to Auschwitz. Frankly, as a kid, I never knew anything about Auschwitz, just like you. A huge concentration camp. Wires, fences, electric fences everywhere. Barracks, guards with vicious dogs. Somewhere far away, we see women. Women, they look like from outer space, with shaven hats, prison little dresses, most of them barefoot. And they scream out in different languages, "My God," to the new arrivals. "My God, where are you coming from? It's sheer hell here." The different languages came from different countries. Wherever the Nazi regime conquered a country in Europe, I would say about 80% of the Jewish people came through Auschwitz day and night. And most of them lost their lives there. They wouldn't allow them to come close. They beat them away. We never saw them again. In front of our compartments stood a white uniformed gentleman. His name was Dr. Mengele, the butcher of Auschwitz. He and his honchos, ladies and gentlemen, they experimented on our lives. They cut the flesh of our people without anesthetic. They experimented on old, on disabled, on babies, on children, on twins, on triplets, on homosexuals, on gypsies. And the crematoriums were burning our people day and night. Day and night. You could smell the air, the flesh of the people. Day and night, people came from all over Europe. Most of them lost their lives. In front of my compartment, he is standing erect. And they tell us, this is your last stop. You never leave this camp alive. On the side are guards with vicious dogs. Dr. Mengele is ordering the men and the boys to get out first. They took them away. We never saw them again. To the women, to the girls, he raises his arm like I am doing right now and points with his thumb. And he orders us to get out as fast as humanly possible. If you didn't get out fast enough, they tripped you. And the vicious dogs pulled away the girls. And I can still hear their cries in my dreams. I still dream about this. All the men said as we walked out from each compartment, rechts, links, right, left, in a very fast fashion. As I said, if you did not get out fast enough, the dogs pulled away the girls. I can still see their blood gushing out from their behinds and backs. Again, nobody cared. I was sent to the right. We didn't know which is the good way, which is the bad way. We had to go wherever they told us. Otherwise, they would kill us on the spot. The people who accumulated to the right were told, we are going to have showers. The guards are marching us into the bathhouses. The first thing what I noticed when I walked in with my group was piles of human hair, piles of clothes, piles of gold, piles of shoes. Now the gold, mind you, consisted of wedding bands, gold watches, gold bracelets, earrings, and so on. The Nazi regime was very well organized. When the piles were big enough, every few hours, they took most of them away, but they always left little piles for the new arrivals because people came day and night. So the new arrivals will know how it's being done. This went on day and night. So every few hours, they schlepped away, piles of gold, clothes, whatever, but piles of gold, that's what they were interested in, to help the Nazi, I repeat, war machine. Men guards are ordering us girls to strip and put all of our belongings on those piles. And we do. I had nothing on me, except a tiny little picture of my mother. That's the only thing what I had. We are all naked now. Men guards proceed to shave us. Most girls came from the ghettos with long hair. They shaved us everywhere like this. They disinfected us with smelly solutions and big brushes everywhere. I'm still sick from the ghetto. I'm holding this tiny little picture of my mother. It's so small I can crush it in my fist. And I'm telling in a very low voice to Ruta, I'm mumbling, I will not give up the picture of my mother no matter what they will do to me. Indeed, they came close to me. What are you hiding here? Open your fist. I said, I have a little picture of my mother. Open your fist. I didn't want to open it. I knew they were going to take it away. But they were stronger. And I opened finally my fist and I said, I told you that's all I have. Let me through. It will hurt nobody. And I closed my fist again. But they were beating me so hard and held my fist. And the picture fell out of my fist. It fell on the floor with a with a face up. When I looked down, I was crying bitterly, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to get this back." My mother said to me then, "Paula, walk away, you're going to be okay." She was not there to say that, right? But in my heart she was. I tried to retrieve it, but they stepped on it and pushed me in with the other girls. And we had showers. But remember, there were so many girls what went to the left, what were not as lucky as our group. All the people who went to the left perished in the crematoriums in Auschwitz. After the showers, we looked at each other. We looked like lost sheep. What happened to our lives? Shaven heads. They shaved us everywhere. They gave us a little prison dress, no underwear, a pair of wooden shoes, no socks. What happened to our lives? Why? There were no answers. They marched us into filthy barracks, freezing barracks, and again they were lecturing to us, "This is the last stop." Those people who went to Auschwitz, ladies and gentlemen, had a tattoo on their arm. We had no names. We had numbers. Our group did not get those numbers. They had different ideas what they were going to do with us. For some reason, the Gestapo derived pleasures to see naked girls. Every few hours they came to the barracks, they ordered us to get undressed and get out. They need to count us, like we were going to run away. As I told you before, there was nowhere to run, you would be killed on the spot. All we had to do was take off our little dress, and we were naked. They took our dignity away a long time ago. We had nothing left. On each counting, they took out the most beautiful girls. I told you in the beginning, my friend Ruta was a beautiful girl. We were holding hands. They didn't want me, they wanted Ruta. They were pulling away so many girls. I was holding hands with Ruta, swaying back and forth as they were pulling her away. Ruta perished in the crematorium in Auschwitz. After this ordeal, I was not too long there. They sent hundreds of us away to another camp. The name of the camp, ladies and gentlemen, was Ravensbrück. I was honored here a few years ago, about 5 years ago, the women of Ravensbrück. There were 5 women, the whole state of Michigan, who survived Ravensbrück. We had a whole exhibition which thousands of people, like yourselves, came through to look at the exhibition. And everyone's picture was on display. As I'm speaking, there are only 2 left, Paula and somebody else, and that somebody else is not doing so well. Does it tell you something? 5 people who survived the horrors of Ravensbrück. What I have witnessed in Ravensbrück, the short time I was there, is unspeakable what people can do to others. For the past 2-3 years, I cannot speak about this camp at all. I am just locked in there in my soul. You can see already where I'm coming from and where I'm going. So please forgive me if I will let this camp go, and I will go on to another camp. The good part was, I wasn't too long in Ravensbrück. But what I witnessed in the short time, as I will repeat again is unspeakable. What they have done to others and what I endured myself as a young girl. They send away hundreds of young people to another camp. The name of the camp, ladies and gentlemen, was Mühlhausen, deeper and deeper into Germany. But Mühlhausen, I remember with kinder thoughts. We opened up a brand new camp. Each one of us received a little blanket. We could take the little blanket over our shoulders as we were marching every morning about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to ammunition factories. That's where we worked. Most of the ammunition factories in Germany were situated in the forest. We were marching for hours in the most horrifying weathers. It could pour, rain, cold, but we could take that little blanket over our shoulders. They gave us a cup of coffee before we left and a piece of bread. When we came back in the evening from work, they gave us a little soup and a piece of bread. If you found a piece of potato in that soup, you considered yourself lucky, but it was something. Ladies and gentlemen, but most of all, what I remember about Mühlhausen is my German foreman. My German foreman was one of the kindest people I have met under the Nazi regime. He always stopped at my station and talked to me. He made sure the cigars are far away because they were always watching us. The foremen did not supposed to talk to the prisoners. We were prisoners. He made sure that they were far away. He came over and talked to me and told me about his family. I told him about mine. He was a grandfather. He had a granddaughter, ladies and gentlemen. She had the same name as mine in German. It's Paula. And he loved to stop at my station and talk to me. He brought me as often as he could a piece of bread or some rags to put around on my feet. You know, we had no socks. He understood how cold we are, how hungry we are. One day, he came and he said, Paula, the war is coming to end any time now. They have murdered millions of Jewish people and millions of children. Do whatever you can to survive, and maybe you'll be lucky enough to find somebody from your family. The only regrets I have, I never asked him his name. But do you know this, in every presentation for the past 27 years, I remember my German foreman. You see, one person can make such an impact on your life. This, you will never forget him or her. You will always remember that person, no matter if you know his name or hers, for the rest of your life. And that's what I'm talking about. Be kind to one another. Reach out to one another. Reach out to that stranger. We were all strangers somewhere, sometimes, to make a better world, and we will. Now this is almost 5 years. They are closing all the concentration camps, and they are marching us out under guard. Where we are going, we don't know. There's no bread, no water. Men were not together with women in concentration camps, at least not where I was. We see far on the horizon men walking from different directions, women from different directions. We are somewhere in the middle. They cannot endure anymore. They fall to their death. If somebody fell down, the guard and somebody else, like a friend or a stranger, fell over to help the one who fell. The guards killed the one who fell. And sometimes they ordered the second person who fell over, get up. Either she or he could not get up anymore or didn't want to live anymore. So they killed the one who fell and the one who couldn't get up. So as we are marching, you see trails of bodies. This was called, ladies and gentlemen, the Death March, rightfully so. The group is getting smaller and smaller. We are walking into the last camp. The name of the camp was Bergen-Belsen. As you can see, in my young years, I traveled a lot with the wrong people in the wrong times. When I walked into Bergen-Belsen, again I couldn't believe my eyes. Scattered, decayed bodies all over Bergen-Belsen. Vicious women guards are beating the skeletons who can still walk. And I say, didn't they love somebody? Didn't somebody love them? I am sure they were capable of loving and being loved in return. But they hardened their heart and soul towards one of the oldest people in the world, the Jewish people. They are picking 40 girls from all these people who just walked in. I am among the 40 girls to be picked. Instead to kill us, they are sending us into a kitchen to peel potatoes. We haven't eaten for days and nights. We are desperate. We stuff our mouths with the raw peels, with the potatoes. We swallow it as fast as we can. You don't know what you will eat when you are so hungry. But as soon as they see us do that, they take us all out. We have to bend over. Remember, we have no underwear. We receive 25 leather straps for eating a piece of raw peel or raw potato. Again, I say, didn't they love somebody? The beatings continue. At this point, we have high temperature. We have different diseases. We have typhoid, dysentery, and other diseases. We hear shootings. We hear jeeps running back and forth with beautiful soldiers on them. We pray to God, please stop here. We are still alive. Bear this wonderful moment of liberation. Beautiful young soldiers are jumping off their jeeps right in front of our kitchen and storming in and screaming out with joy, you are free, you are liberated. We know what they are saying, but we are so sick we can't get up on our own. Instead, we fall to the ground. We reach for the boots of the soldiers. We don't want to let them go. We raise our heads to thank them, but we cannot get up. They see what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, they do whatever they can to help us. They fed us, they medicated us, they even pitched little makeshift hospitals. But for most of the people, it was too late. As you went through with our docents today, you have seen hundreds, thousands of bodies being bulldozed into mass graves. And you say to yourselves, who are those people? They were our people who did not make it, who didn't survive. I say, when a person dies of natural causes, we have a grave where we can go and cry our hearts out. We survivors don't have that privilege. Therefore, we are building teaching centers like this to teach you, so this will never happen again. I promised you about my brother who ran away to Russia when the war started. He was the only one to survive, came back to Poland and asked our Polish neighbors if anybody returned. When our Polish neighbors told him nobody did, at that time we didn't know about each other. He was heartbroken. He settled in a distant city and registered to go to Israel. I was liberated in Bergen-Belsen. I registered to come to America. As a child, I remembered I had family in Detroit. Everybody probably knows the Botsford Hospital. The founder of the Botsford Hospital was my first cousin. His name was Alan Ziegler. His father was my uncle, my mother's brother. They immigrated to this country in the turn of the century, when you descendants came to a new country to make a better living for their families. I also had an aunt here, my mother's sister, as a young couple with her husband who immigrated about the same time. His name was Jenny Meisner from the Meisner family. So I remember they were corresponding here in America, where I did not know. My brother was 12 years older than I. He too remembered that. Through the Red Cross, Jewish seeking organizations, we found each other. We wrote, they found my family, our family in Detroit. My uncle and aunt and cousins, they wrote to me, to Bergen-Belsen, Paula, your brother survived, but he is on the way to Israel. They wrote to him this, I am on the way here. Actually, I lived with my cousin, Dr. Ziegler. I was married already then. I came as a young couple. Anyways, I was reunited with my brother in Israel 32 years later. I don't think I need to tell you our meeting. He was the most wonderful person. He wanted to make a better world. He hated nobody just like I. He wanted to transform the world to a better place. I had the privilege of bringing him here twice to this beautiful country of ours. He loved everyone, but he had to go back. He was married again. He had one daughter. He passed away about 16 years ago in Israel. I must tell you, after the war, we were searching everywhere. We could find nobody else. No older people survived. There were no mothers, no fathers, no grandparents for sure. We lived in DP camps, displaced people's camps. We had a rabbi in each camp. We had all kinds of clergy. We had teachers. We tried to learn, a language. I learned, English. We took English as a profession. We were kids. We had no professions. Ladies and gentlemen, like all young people, I was almost 18 years old when I was liberated. They were boys and girls. We fell in love, just like everyone else. People got married in the DP camps. I was married in a DP camp in Hanover, Germany, after Bergen-Belsen. We moved to smaller camps. Ladies and gentlemen, we came to America. We worked very hard. We raised two beautiful daughters. We gave them all the education they wanted. My older daughter, Shelley, is a graduate of the University of Michigan with a master's in public health and in a bachelor in science. She worked for years. She's retired now. She is 62. My younger daughter went to Carnegie, school here to become a medical assistant, where she worked for many years. The kids were grown. They were married. They moved away to California. My husband and I, Martin Marks, we loved each other so much. After 33 years of marriage, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. We went to Mayo Clinic. It was too late. He died 7 weeks after being diagnosed. This is almost 29 years ago. I thought we were still fairly young. I thought I would never marry again. I was a widow for 4 years, and people like to fix you up, some friends. I met a wonderful gentleman. His name was Philip Bolton. He was born right here in Detroit. He was a retired pharmacist. He had a wonderful family. My kids loved Phil, and his kids loved me. We got married. He was president of B'nai David for many years, a big synagogue. And we had really, we loved each other. We went out to nice places. We went dancing to dinners, to concerts, and so on, to shows. We were married for over 18 years, and Phil died of congestive heart failure and leukemia. This is over 8 years ago. I usually don't tell the people the end of my story, but I felt this you probably would like to know. I am okay now. I'm still speaking in the last chapter of my life. As I said, I will continue to speak and teach others goodness and kindness to every human being. It should never make any difference. Again, I will repeat, no matter what religion, no matter what nationality, no matter what color skin a person is. I promised you about the Christians of Europe. The Christians of Europe, ladies and gentlemen, were ordinary people, just like all of us, who risked their lives to hide a Jewish child or a Jewish family. It wasn't enough, but they were. In every Holocaust centers, we have walls, special walls, with their names inscribed. They will be shining forever for people like you to read those names and to see what they have done. We bring them wherever they are, from all over Europe, to honor them. If they are not alive, we bring their children or grandchildren, and we call them the righteous Christians. And as I always end my presentation, I always say, you are the righteous as well, who come here to learn what happened to one of the oldest people in the world. May God bless you and keep you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great life. Happy Passover is coming, and happy Easter. Look, we are celebrating at the same time, right? Easter and Passover. Thank you so much for coming. If you feel like writing a note, you can write a note to the Holocaust Center in care of Paula. If you don't remember my name, say the lady with a hat. I always wear a hat. Thank you so much. If you feel like it, I'd like to give you a hug. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have a ride, Elise? Sure, absolutely. Great one.